live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
All right, yes it is. Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Thursday, the 18th of January. Going in depth tonight on the latest with Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke, in that child abuse case where it stands now before sentencing February 20th. Before we get there, though, we've got to take a look at what's making headlines. You can find all of this on our website right now, KUTV.com. All of these stories are there. Chad Daybell's attorney will remain as counsel in the upcoming murder trial. Today, an Idaho judge denied John Pryor's request to withdraw from the case. Now, last week, Pryor filed a motion to be removed from the case, citing Chad Daybell's inability to pay for legal services. Jury selection in Daybell's trial is set to begin April 1st. Also in your headlines tonight, the governor delivering his 2024 State of the State address. It is happening at 6:30, so about an hour from now in the House chamber. That's at the Utah State Capitol. During his address, Governor Cox will present his priorities, vision, and goals for Utah's future. You can get that tonight on 2 News at 6:30. Congress passed a short-term funding extension bill today. The move averts a looming partial government shutdown ahead of Friday's deadline. The bill now heads to President Biden's desk for his signature. And finally, in our headlines tonight, today is the first day of the Sundance Film Festival. 2024 marks a big year, the 40th anniversary of this Indie Film Fest. This year, moviegoers not only celebrating some young new film creators, but also some Sundance standouts. It's taking place now through Sunday, January 28th. You can get those tickets on the Sundance website. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. We encourage you to do that by using a fancy hashtag, 2NewsLive, to join the conversation. And we are also on all the socials, Facebook, X, Instagram, even on TikTok if you use that platform. Send a DM there to weigh in. A new filing as the state of Utah seeks to execute a man. Ralph Menzies was convicted of murder in 1988. Today, he says he plans to respond to the Utah Attorney General's office request for a death warrant. Ariel Harrison joining us after speaking with the AG's legal team about their filing. Ariel, what did they say today in response?
Well, they said that they anticipated that might happen, but now from my understanding, what takes place is now that the AG's office has filed that application for a death warrant. The very same thing happened, as you know, 20 years ago, Brian, but failed. So back in 2003, from my understanding, a judge then will pick a court date, a court hearing rather. Menzies will have the opportunity to attend that in person. And then at that point, we look at whether the judge signs off on it. Attorney General staff I spoke with today said that they anticipate his team will likely file motions. They could also, look into a commutation hearing. But these are all things that they're looking at as they've been playing the, so to speak, chess game over the last 20 years. He is, from my understanding, out of appeals that he filed. All of those opportunities ended last year. So the Attorney General's team, also former Attorney General, I spoke with Mark Shurtleff, who worked on this case as well during his time as AG. They are encouraged. They think that this is, getting towards the end of this really long drawn out case with this man that murdered a really beautiful Utah woman, Maureen Hunsaker. She was a mom. She was killed 36 years ago. Her family has been long waiting for justice. They hope that this is the light at the end of the tunnel. Again, some things need to happen, but the judge, if they sign off on a court date, and then that takes place and a judge then signs that, an execution date is scheduled immediately. That has to happen no less than 30 days from that point and no more than 60. So some things we're still waiting on here, Brian, but some very significant developments in the grand scheme of this 36-year-old case, almost 40 years.
Ariel, decades in the making for this case. I know we'll be following it closely. Thank you for joining us on 2 News Live to give us the latest. A judge in the Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke child abuse case has granted a temporary restraining order. Kevin Franke's attorney asked for the restraining order to prevent Jodi Hildebrandt from moving, distributing, or selling her assets. Kevin Franke argued Hildebrandt should have to pay restitution to the 2 children who suffered months of physical and mental abuse by Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke. The judge confirmed that the 2 children are entitled to the restitution. He says Hildebrandt should pay for any and all ongoing treatments related to the children's injuries and trauma. The judge also forbid anyone from signing over or transferring any of Hildebrandt's property until the sentencing. That is on February 20th. I did get a response from Kevin Franke's attorney, Randy Kester, today. I did ask him just a question, if there's anything else he'd like to add. He said just to say that in conformity with his commitment and dedication to do what's best for his children, Kevin will continue to take steps to ensure that the kids' future is addressed in a way to maximize their well-being. Perhaps that's what this document suggests. Criminal defense attorney Sky Lazaro joining us to kind of discuss what this document and the paperwork is all about, because I was a little confused about how this fits into everything. Keep in mind, Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke, it's a case inside of a case inside of a case. Overwhelming child abuse case. There's a divorce filing in there. There's a custody battle in there. So it gets a little messy.
Correct. There's a lot going on.
Where is this, temporary restraining order? What does this mean, first and foremost, to you when you read it?
One, the temporary restraining order, the way it's filed in this case is a little different than anything we normally see. Essentially what it means is exactly what you said, that the judge has put a hold that she can't transfer any assets. The children would qualify as victims because she pleaded guilty to child abuse under the Crime Victim Restitution Act. So will be entitled to restitution, but that's still something that needs to be set.
What stands out to you when looking at the paperwork here and how all of this was filed in the first place? Because as you mentioned, it's not exactly a common practice, I think, to use this specifically in this instance, right?
That's correct. And what we see in this filing, which I think will be interesting to see what Hildebrandt's attorney ultimately argues when she's able to be heard on this case, is one, it was filed ex parte without her involvement ahead of time. Two, it was filed largely based on civil law and relying on civil remedies. So the statutes relied upon, one of them is a Drug Dealers Liability Act if you sell someone bad drugs. Another is the civil rule, civil procedure that could be applied to criminal cases, but generally post-judgment.
February 20th is the sentencing, and I know this basically holds things in place till then. What happens on that day that changes this piece of paperwork and this document?
Probably not a lot unless there's a specific amount of restitution that is ordered on that date. So it's sentencing. She'll be sentenced to prison. We know she's going to prison. At that point, part of the sentence, she'll probably be sentenced to pay restitution to the victims. And then Jodi Hildebrandt will be entitled to have a restitution hearing and have the judge determine what amount of restitution is appropriate given the children's needs and whatnot.
I want to go back in time a little bit because you and I haven't spoken since they pled guilty to the 4 counts each. So that was basically a month ago at this point. When you were following this, I mean, you've weighed in on some of this to give some context and better understanding into some of the nuances of the court system and how this is working. Were you surprised to see them both plea out with the same amount of charges? Because to me, it was unique. In a way, I've been saying this out loud, I didn't expect it to be as exact for these plea deals.
Yes and no. I mean, I think that depends on the facts of cases and the conversation that goes on with the prosecutors and agreements made with the state. So this can happen. I don't think it's untypical that co-defendants would get the same. When one agrees to testify against another, generally speaking, they get a better deal.
And when they both pleaded the same amount of charges, doesn't necessarily mean the same amount of years behind bars.
Correct.
Right? So as we learn here, February 20th, sentencing for both Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt, just to lay it all out there of what happens during a sentencing in the state of Utah. Because if you go through and do what I do sometimes, you read the comments, people are saying, will we learn on February 20th how long these two will be behind bars? And the status of that is we will not, because it's up to the board.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So what happens February 20th?
What's happening right now is Adult Probation and Parole is putting together a pre-sentence investigation that looks at a number of factors, the crime, their pro-social activities, different things. At sentencing, really all we're going to hear from the judge is you're sentenced to prison, and probably consecutively based on the plea agreement. What also can happen is Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt also have the opportunity to be heard at sentencing and make any statements on their own behalf, as do victims or a representative of the victim if they chose to be heard in open court.
And again, this could be months before we know actual time frame.
Correct. Right? Correct.
Anything else? I'm going to give you the whole anything else you want to add on this case, because we haven't had the opportunity to talk about this, and a lot has happened since we did. What's interesting about this case, at least to me, when you're looking through court filings, nothing happened for the longest period of time. That was public facing. Clearly everything happened in meetings between one side and the other, the prosecution and the defense, and they came to this agreement on these deals, and nothing was put forth. Were you surprised to see it so quiet for that month and a half, 2 months, given the attention it got early on? Search warrants come out, other things come out to play, and the public starts getting involved with their judgment on what's going on?
I would say this is fairly typical. You see a lot of energy and a lot of moving parts, and a lot of things happen early in cases where there's search warrants. You'll see pretrial litigation go on, but it's pretty typical to have this dead period, or what looks to us, and sometimes to our clients, like a dead period, like what's happening, what are you guys doing? And that's when all these conversations take place. So I would say this followed a pretty standard pattern as it relates to how these go through the process.
Criminal defense attorney Sky Lazaro, always gracious with your time, and we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thanks for
Thanks
joining
for
us on the
having me,
show.
Brian.
So if you'd like to see Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt's full court hearings, we have posted entire unedited videos on our KUTV YouTube page. We have a lot of stuff on there, by the way. That 8 Passengers playlist is long right now. Interviews with family members and other stories that we've worked on. Some really interesting news coverage about what this case could mean for law in the future in the state of Utah with certain charges and such. They're looking into a number of different things right now, licensure, you name it. Just click on the 8 Passengers playlist on our YouTube page. Let's get to the man of 5:30. Here he is.
Drum roll, please.
Haven't seen Chase Thomas in a long time, so the title has now moved over to Trent Parker.
Thank you.
Snowbird today, my point of view. He's rubbing it in at this point that he got to go
yeah.
skiing, hit the slopes today.
Point of view, you're me on Peruvian looking down the canyon today.
All right.
It was a little bit cold. We had some clouds, but man, the snow was just absolutely perfect. I mean, we have built that base up over the last couple of weeks. Not hitting a lot of rocks anymore, Brian, so hopefully you can dig out those fat powder skis, the nice ones, and get to ripping sometime soon.
Yeah, let him go. I would love to get up there. Are we expecting anything in your forecast here that adds a little bit more on top?
We are. We're expecting a couple weak disturbances. Nothing all that incredible, nothing like a blockbuster event, but it will be active enough to at least keep our air fresh and the mountain snow to keep on falling. So here are high temperatures today. Super balmy today. It was beautiful. Driving down from Snowbird, I had those windows cranked all the way down, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. 50 degrees here in Salt Lake City, 43 in Provo, 44 in Ogden, even Logan getting up into the low 40s as well. 44 in Price, 50 in Milford and Cedar City, and St. George getting pretty close to that 60-degree mark. And we've got some warmer temperatures coming over the next couple of days. And if we check out where the alpine temperatures were today up in the mountains, what we like to see is a well-mixed atmosphere, and that means the temperatures cool as you go up in the atmosphere. So if we check out these high temperatures, 36 at S-Turns, 23 at Reynolds, and 22 at Hidden Peak. We did have that lapse right there today, so that means we had good air quality across the entire state, and especially here in northern Utah. We got a little bit funky over the last couple of days as we had a little bit of that stale air and a little bit of that inversion in place, but we are in the green right now, so breathe a fresh breath of relief. And the resort's picked up a pretty good amount of snow over the last couple of days. It wasn't a huge storm, but it came in pretty quick, and it dumped a good amount of snow, anywhere between a foot to 15 inches falling across northern Utah. And as a result, the wind, the snow, and even the warm temperatures today, that sunshine, increasing that avalanche danger. So we do have an avalanche warning back in effect through 6 a.m. tomorrow. Please just be safe out there and try to make wise decisions. Try to make conservative decisions at that. And if you don't know, don't go. Statewide, we're at 106% of our median snowpack for this time of year. So we are starting to recover in a pretty good way. Northern Utah doing the best. 110% here across the Provo and Utah Lake area. 133 up in the Raft River Mountains. So that is really good. The place that we need it is southeastern Utah, south central Utah, and southern Utah. We're still kind of struggling, but we've got good news. There are precipitation chances, especially for you down in southern Utah as we head towards the weekend. Got a little bit of a mix of rain and snow, if not some freezing rain up by Boise in Ontario, Oregon. That's actually drifting off to the north, so we're not actually going to see any of that over the next couple of days. But what we do see is the future track as this plays out, milder air actually entering that area. So we'll likely see a switch over to rain over the next couple of days. And then Saturday afternoon, we could see some scattered showers down in southwestern Utah. Our best chance up here in northern Utah, it will be valley rain and mountain snow. So you can forget the shoveling for a couple more days. We could see maybe a little bit of snow up here on I-84, especially as you head towards Idaho or I-15. So Rattlesnake Pass, stuff like that. You might be seeing some snow. Park City could get some snow out of this Saturday night. And as we roll it through Sunday, a better chance for widespread valley rain and mountain snow, especially down in southwestern, south central, and even eastern Utah getting in on this action. And that's exactly where we need it. So this is great news. Hopefully we can get these snowfall amounts to start ticking up a little bit higher, because right now it looks like we could have a pretty good area up here in these mountains of 3 to 6 inches. Locally, higher amounts are possible, especially towards Bryan Head and those highly desired areas. Here in the Cottonwoods, we could see a wet couple of inches. Park City, this one model is going for about 6 inches as we head through Monday morning. So not a huge storm. It will stay rather active, but we're not expecting any kind of travel concerns over the next couple of days, as it will be valley rain and mountain snow. St. George, big 6-0 tomorrow. We'll see if we get there. Mostly cloudy skies, turns into some showers over the weekend. Temperatures dropping a little bit into the low 50s as we head through early next week. And we are keeping that precipitation chance in through at least Tuesday, and then we'll be watching what goes on for the rest of the week as we get closer to it. Here in Salt Lake City, 45 tomorrow, 46, 45. Beautiful weather other than a couple chances for some showers. Mostly cloudy skies on Monday. Some more chances for some showers on Tuesday, but for the most part, just fine. Beautiful weather over the next 7 days or so. And you're a little upset that I missed this one yesterday. The Cottonwood Canyons forecast, here it is. So we've got temperatures in the 30s dropping into the low 30s. Those overnight lows staying pretty chilly, so the snow will stay fresh, and we've got even some more snow on the way, especially Saturday. Could get a little bit, Sunday a little bit, and maybe Tuesday. And hopefully we just keep things going, Brian.
Clearly I was upset. Rolled the tape from yesterday. First alert weather day. First alert weather day. No, I'm just kidding. But it's good to see something here in the Cottonwoods, because we've been really stacking it up over the last week or so up there. I mean, a lot of our mountain communities have been getting hit pretty hard.
Yeah, and you hate to see us get to this point where we're now above average for a statewide snowpack, and then things just stall out, and then we start declining again. So it's good news that we just keep on getting these little refreshers here and there.
I'm glad you got out today.
Thanks.
It made me motivated to get out on the snow.
We got to get out soon.
I know. I look forward to it. Thank you, Trent. Remember to download our 2 News weather app to know about the changes in your neighborhood. You can get those updated forecasts, the live radar right on your phone. The app is free to download. Also, obviously, we are streaming. That's how we do it. You can find KUTV 2 News Live on your phone, your tablet, your computer. You can stream our newscasts on the KUTV mobile app, Stir, News On. I like to push to the YouTube because you can watch it all back if you missed something and go, what did he say? And you can leave comments. We'd like to hear from you. All of those apps you can download the Apple App Store and Google Play. So I will not be with you tomorrow. I apologize. I am going to get on the snow. I'm just going to give it away. I'm going to get out, get a little family in town, and trying to do a day for us, which is good. Don't get to do that a whole lot, so it's kind of nice.
Oh, need a little break from the 5:30.
Well, no, I don't need a break from the 5:30. Just trying. Kidding. Thanks for watching 2 News Live. We are here typically Monday through Friday. I'll be back with you next week. Hope to have you join us for more in-depth conversations. Again, if you missed anything here from our conversation with criminal defense attorney Sky Lazaro, talking Jodi Hildebrandt, Ruby Franke, that restraining order that was just filed, very interesting stuff, how it kind of conforms to where we are today in the case. Go back and watch it. Have a great rest of your Thursday night. Back tomorrow.